Hello and welcome to Rosie's Preserving School Pressure Canning. And today we're going to be making one of the most useful things you can have on your shelves by a long way, I think, which is a basic minced meat mix. It's just so useful for all age groups. You know, little toddlers love mince because they don't have to chew it. Ancient grannies love it because they don't have to chew it, and everyone else in between. It's easy and quick. And if you've got jars of your preferred mince mix on the shelf, you haven't got to worry that this, you know, what are we going to eat? Especially if you get, you know, like youngsters do, they come home from school or college and say, oh, can I have my mates round? And you think, oh my goodness, you've got things there that you can just use really easily. The key to this is to buy the best mince that you can. You don't want anything with a high fat content. Some fat is nice because it gives it flavour and it makes it moist. But the very fatty sort of end of the market, I leave those alone because it doesn't process well. It doesn't stay the course, you know, for very long before it starts to taint the main dish. But you can use any kind of mince. You can use steak mince, you can use chicken, turkey, lamb. I think there's pork mince now, you know, whatever you need it for, and you will have your own favorite family kind of mix, how you like it. You know, I personally don't like it too sort of wet. I like it in a thickish sauce. And I don't like seeing on the plate when I've served it up sort of a big puddle of fluid all around the edge. That it just puts me off. So I'm going to make it how I like it. You can make it how you like it. And then you've got it ready to go. And I'm going to show you in the interval, after the interval, when we're waiting for my canner to depressurize, I'm going to show you 2 or 3 of the very quick, easy ways you can use it that maybe you haven't thought about. So you need the mince. I've got 2 kilos in all, but I'm keeping back some of mine because that's going to be one of the things I'm going to use when I show you the other dishes. So I've actually got 1.5 kilos in my pan here of fresh mince. Well, it was fresh. I froze it. And this is defrosted now. So I've got my pan on the heat here, nice big pan. And what you need to do, the crucial thing to do with mince is to not leave it in lumps. You're only quickly cooking this, breaking it down to make it as separate as you can, because the pressure canning is not good for solid jars of anything, because the heat doesn't transfer to the middle very well of the jar when it's processing, and you can get hot spots and cold spots and the food can be unsafe. So the thing is to use some tongs or a spatula or something and break it all up, keep it on the move. You don't need it to be cooked all the way through, just to generally look a bit browned. That's all you're doing, and it shouldn't take very long to do each amount. And if you use the steak mince, you won't find that you've got very much fat or other juices really at this stage. Mix that around. Smells great. And you're just cooking enough of it for long enough so that if something isn't cooked, like you can see there, some of it's pink, some of it's brown, it doesn't still stick together in a great big lump. Now, you've got 2 versions on the recipe download. You can just make mince with some onions, and that's it. Onions, maybe some garlic, and then you can jar it, put it in your jars and top it up with hot stock. if you want completely plain mince. You could season it, you could put some herbs in if you want to. So if that's what you want to do all your batches of mince and then stir them all up so they're equal, put them in the jars and top them up with stock to leave 3 centimeters or an inch of headspace. We're going to go on, or I'm going to go on and cook what I like to have on the shelf because I find it saves me the most time. I'm going to take this out and put it back in this pan. It doesn't matter that there's uncooked meat in there as well, and some juice from the meat from previously, because it's all going to get processed up together. So it will still be safe. Let's take out as much as I can. You may see I've remembered to bring my tongs this week. Because this isn't my home kitchen, so I'd forgotten them last week. You can see there's very, very little that has come out of that pan, that little drip at the bottom there. Back on the heat. I've got my canner on, by the way, heating up. So we're ready to go there whenever. So I'm going to put the next amount in. So this is an ideal bulk pressure canning thing to do, get a whole load of mince in and just do jars and jars of it, and then you'll see just how much time it saves. And you can buy it when you see a bargain and freeze it until you're ready to do it, or you can negotiate with your butcher and say, well, I want 10 kilos or 15 kilos of steak mince. Can you do it any cheaper for me? Which they probably will, because they can do a whole load in one go and they wouldn't have to wrap it all and pack it all. They can just put it in bags for you, and it saves them a lot of time. But give them time to do that. Order it ahead. Don't walk in off the street and expect them to stop and do it. This is where your planning comes in. Make sure you've got everything ready that you need. Gosh, I could eat this now. It smells lovely. I'm not putting any seasoning in. Well, I might put a little bit of black pepper in, I'm not sure, but and a few herbs, but I'm not salting it and everything. I'll do that when I use it, if it needs it. Mostly I find that it doesn't. You can see it's quite quick to do. You can have your pan heat up quite high as well, because you don't want to be sort of stewing it away for ages. You want to get it sort of flash fried, really. Take that one out. Put the last one in. That I'm going to do right now. If you want to do a much bigger batch, of course, this recipe, if you use these proportions and then multiply it up, if you want to do twice as much or 3 times as much, you can work, and that's true of all the recipes. You can just make more if you want to have a sort of afternoon of batch making, so that you've got a lot on the shelf. This is a practical amount that I can actually show you without making you stand here all day. So that's how I've written it, so that it's a practical amount to show you. Give that another couple of seconds. Right, so that didn't take very long at all, and there's no prep for it, so it's not like you've got to cut it all up. Right, that's all the meat. Now I'm going to just fry off the vegetables, which are onions and garlic. And I've got some bacon in here, sliced, and a bit of Italian sausage I found in the fridge that needed using up. So I've put that in as well for flavour into my mix. And then I've got some mushrooms as well. So I'm going to keep back some of these to cook with the one I want to show you later. So I'm just going to take a bit of this out. A bit of that. Then I'm going to put the rest into my pan just to cook it briefly, so it's not too pale and pasty in the jar. All that in. That's all of that. And I'll put the mushrooms in as well. Most of them. I'll keep a few back to go with that mince. The mushrooms I've chopped quite small. With my sort of mix, I like everything to blend in with the mince, so that it's not a sort of separate ingredient. It's all one thing. If I'm feeling in the mood and I have it to hand, I might splosh a bit of red wine in as well for good measure, but I'm not doing that today. So I'm just stirring all of that up and letting it cook down a bit. I'm going to put some herbs in. I'll just put those into this cooked mince. Not a huge amount. We don't want sort of, because I want it to do many jobs, I don't want it sort of angled in one particular way. I just want it to be tasty. And I'll put a little bit of black pepper in. I grind that myself in the spice grinder, and I forget how much stronger it is than black pepper that you buy, you know, and it's sometimes I put a bit too much in. So I'll just put a little bit. So I'll let them cook a bit longer. Stir in my herbs and pepper. While those are cooking, the other thing I'm going to put in is a jar of passata. Now you can buy passata. As you know, I made all of our tomatoes into passata last year. So I do have jars and jars of it, all different sizes. But I've got a 750 ml jar here. I don't know if it will be enough because it very much depends on how much liquid there was in the mince. And in this mince, there wasn't very much. So I might need a second jar. But I've opened that already. And I'm just going to empty that in. You can see when it's made, it kind of it separates, and the liquid from the tomatoes is at the bottom there, and then you've got a sort of pasty bit on the top. But I just put the whole thing in and stir it up, and then when the vegetables are cooked, I'll put that in as well. And that is my preferred mixture. I don't put any more sort of strongly flavoured things in. It's just a tomato-y base. I'll stir that up. And there will be more liquid that comes out in the pressure canning. So I want it fairly, I don't want it too runny at this stage. A little bit of summer 2022 in there. What a summer that was for tomatoes. We had kilos and kilos of them, just kept coming. And I think the last ones I picked were the beginning of November. Right. That's got a bit of colour on it, not madly. I don't want it sort of too. So the next thing to do is to get all of this into here, which will tip like that. Turn this off for a moment. There's my spatula. Go around, get every last bit. I know on television programs they just show you, they kind of leave half of it behind, but I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to show you what I do, which is to grab everything possible. Right. Balance it on there if I can. Oops, heavy. Okay, I need to put that on a mat somewhere. I'm going to use it again in a bit, so I'll bring it round and put on the mat. Make sure it's not in the way. And then this mixture, I'm going to mix the vegetables in and then just put it back on the heat because the passata wasn't heated up, and then get ready to fill my jars up. You can see it's quite a sort of robust mixture, but it is the basis of so many things that we have. So put that back on the heat just for a bit. And I'll show you one that I made earlier, a long time earlier. And this is what the jar ends up like. Again, pressure can food isn't the prettiest looking, but it's there. It's got everything in it. And again, you get this sort of separation, a bit of fat taking on the colour of the passata. And then you've got all the meat, the onions and the mushrooms and everything in there. If you like a finely chopped carrot in your mince mix, then you can do that. I didn't do it today because of making it sort of too lengthy, but you can put things in like that. Anything that you normally use, go for it, because it will then be what you recognise and what you like. So wipe that. And this is what I'm going to use in a bit to make my other dish. Okay, I haven't left anything out, thank goodness. Make sure I don't leave anything out of the method. Once it's, just give it a stir because there's a lot in the pan and I just want to get it up to temperature. Okay, where's my ladle? Camera's coming up, okay. Jar ready. I've used that there, so I'll put that. Right, so now we fill the jars as usual, 3 centimeters headspace, want about an inch, and don't pack it in tightly again because of the heating. You know, getting the heat through it, you want to sort of drop it in and it needs to be slightly loose in the jar. Using my funnel not to get everything too sticky. Just tap it a bit, shake it down, but there's still gaps in it, which is fine for now, but we'll do the air pockets in a minute. You don't want to be sort of squashing it down from the top into a solid block. Three to four scoopfuls seems to be about it. I find just for the two of us, a 500ml jar is plenty on things like pasta and jacket potatoes and things like that. But if I want to make a big cottage pie or something, I just open 2 jars. I'll be able to top some of these up, I think, in a minute. Right, where's my... Just going to get some of this air out. I do put it in every recipe now, and that's not for you, that's for me, because I always forget to do this bit. It is important not to have too many air pockets, but I never remember until it's all in the canner. And I'm not squashing it down, I'm just sort of evening it out and taking out the big pockets at the bottom there. That one's right, doesn't it? Chopping up. And I think right, to a bit more into that one. And this one. That one. This one again. Right. So on to sealing the jars and wiping the rims with the vinegar. So that's 9 jars out of that, which is good. I've got my vinegar here in my little dish, as per usual. You won't taste this in the finished mince if it does dribble down into the jar. That's those two. Wipe the seal, just in case. If you put them on as you go, you know then which ones you've done. Because it's easy to miss one because they all look the same. Two more lids and seals from somewhere. I haven't got enough. There, 9 jars with their seals on. Just put the lids on. And I'll put those into the canner as I go, which is heating up nicely. Because I've got plenty of room, I'm going to do 2 layers. And I'm not going to squash them in at the bottom so that they're hard to get out. I'm going to do 5 in the bottom. And 4 on the top. So in that relatively short amount of time, that's 9 meals prepped, ready for use in the working week. I generally find this is a good, because it's fast to heat up and everything. It's a good working flour, opposed to something more fancy. Right. Turn that up, put my lid on. And find the seal. Ready. I've been having driving lessons on the lid, So take one there off of my jiggler weight, if I can get it off. There we are. Don't lose that. Put that there ready. I've turned it up, ready to be heating up and venting. And while that is heating up and venting, I'm just going to cook this other mince, which you don't need to do because you're jarring all of yours. But I'm getting ready, so you don't have to watch me do it all again. So got my bowl here. I'm going to put all the vegetables I've got. It's the same mix. It's got meat, mince, bacon, sausage, onion and mushroom. The sausage isn't on the recipe, it's just because I'm using it up. I had an end of an Italian, like a salami sausage, and I just chopped it up and put it in. So I'm going to put all that in there and get that cooking, and then we'll come back to that later on. And of course, this is our supper. As usual, what I show you to make is what we're going to eat later. So oh, I didn't put my vinegar in. I have to open the canner again. Because I don't want all my jars to have water scale on them. Right, all that in there. Don't forget to do that. There we are. Good. It's such a bean that I've been playing with the digital canner that I bought, and the first time I used it, I thought, oh, shall I put it in there or not, the vinegar? Because it's got a sort of, it's not non-stick because there's nothing really touching it, but it's got a black liner like a non-stick pan in the digital canner itself. And I thought, well, I wonder if the vinegar will damage it. And I didn't put it in. And the first batch that came out of it, of course, are all kind of frosted with water scale, lime on the outside of the jars. And they just look a mess, really. So the second time I used it, I just put the vinegar in and there was no problem at all. So that still remains a top tip. How are you doing, Jane? Are you got your jars done?
Yeah, my jars are in. I'm just waiting for it to start venting.
Good.
I did 6 of the litre jars, 1,000 jars with this. So quite a bit.
Yeah, so you'll have to cook for a bit longer. It'll be 90 minutes for the litre size. So that's partly another reason why I do smaller jars, because otherwise you've got to wait that much longer for my canner to finish to take it out. So
yeah,
but you obviously can use any size.
I usually do the little jars, but I've just got a few big jars, and I thought for this sort of thing it's more like a big family meal. So
yes, exactly.
Just because I'm finding I'm using less of them. Like you, I find that 500 ml the absolutely best size jar, and then to do 2 rows of that in the canner.
Yeah,
but I'm just trying to make use of my jars, really.
well, and if you've got teenagers or people away at uni and that kind of thing, on occasion you're going to need a bigger jar, and you can use it then, and it's there, and you can then fill it again for the next time they come back. It's but I think for two people with moderate appetites, two is plenty. The 500ml, I mean, not two, for two, the
500's perfect for a snack for my teenager.
Yeah, exactly. You need something. Yeah. But I think for two, for Trev and I, the 500 is fine. I don't like keep on having to eat up things. I like to sort of make something, eat it, and then have something different. So that's great. I can. If you make this the mixture with the other things in it, then if you put it in smaller jars, like the 350 jar, which I have here, that's ideal if you've got very young children, sort of toddler to 5 or 6, so they don't want to eat very much, and they probably want it at lunchtime. Then you can open one of those, or if you work, you can take one of those with the mixture in, microwave it, and have it with some of the noodles that reheat in hot water, the kind of instant noodles you can buy. Pop them in a mug or a jug with some boiling water, and while they're cooking, the meat can be cooking, and you've got your lunch to go. And it's very easy to adapt it to all sorts of scenarios. So, oh, Rosalind's here. Hi, Rosalind. Great. This with the bacon in and everything just smells lovely. And I think if you eat something satisfying for lunch, that's it, you eat it, and you don't sort of start then looking around thinking, oh, I think I'm just talking about myself really. When I used to work and I used to go to the sandwich shop, I get a sandwich and I'd get a cake or something, or a chocolate bar, and I'd get a packet of crisps, and you'd eat it all, and then about 2:30, 3 o'clock, you're kind of slumped again, and you think, oh, I wish I had something to, it's a sort of dangerous, slippery slope. It was for me anyway. I think it just depends what you like and what you choose, but buying lunches I found were sort of empty calories really. That right, let's put my herbs as well. Again, I don't think I put any in when it was in the bowl. We got to the stage, Rosalind, where we kind of in the canner and waiting for them to vent. So afraid you've missed all the sort of main action, but you'll soon catch up when you come to make it. Right, I'm going to turn this one off and come back to it later, and it can just sit there quite happily. I'm not going to process this one that's in the pan, because this is the one we're going to eat for our supper. But you have got to imagine that I've just opened a jar and this is what I'm using, which I'm sure you're able to do. Sound like that's doing anything at all. And here's some hissing going on, so things will start to speed up a bit. Interestingly, a lot more liquid has come out of that last batch of mince than the entire 3 batches that I made to go in the jars. It's rather strange.
I'm just counting my 10 minutes now.
Yeah, I just thought I better look for my timer. Mine's coming up to vent. I think it's, I can hear it puffing away inside. I'll just get my sausage meat to show you what it I don't know what yours looks like, but there's a question.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, I'll just all right, Rosalind's just saying she's going to stay for a while and then watch in the week on the recording. The sausage meatballs we made last time, not last week, when they cooled down, set into this sort of gel. Every sausage meat is different, so you can't sort of necessarily say this is what it will be like. But I have used one of them in the interim, and that just melted into the most gorgeous sort of gravy in the dish that I actually chopped. I made a mushroom sauce, which we're both very fond of. You know, you get a lot of tomato sauce on pasta dishes and all that kind of thing. But I just find if you chop a lot of mushrooms and just cook them very gently, and I also dehydrate and powder mushrooms, which makes a very, very strong flavouring. So I put some of that in and about a tablespoonful of cream, and it makes a gorgeous sauce. And we had a jar of these over pasta with the mushroom sauce, or the mushrooms mixed into the contents of the jar, and it was absolutely delicious. So but as I say, sausage meats are all different. So, you know, I might never make it like that again, but this time that's what they look like. But I'm delighted with them. So,
I have absolutely none of the sausage and bean soup thing that I made because my youngest son decided he really liked that. So I think most nights he's had one when he's come in.
Well, that's lovely, isn't it? Because you can you can relax and know he's eating proper food. And I had an email from another lady that watches the recording, and she said that it's just absolutely incredible, this soup, you know, and they've had 3 jars 3 nights running.
Yeah.
So, it's been a popular one. Right, how are we doing? This is the longest wait, isn't it? I mean, if I was at home doing this, I'd be doing other things. I'd be washing up, I'd be, but waiting for it to just happen is, it seems forever. You watching? Can't see any steam yet. Bet there's rugby on again this afternoon. Everybody's watching. Quite handy if you look at it from here, because it's straight across to the pressure thing, and you can see it against the back. Yeah. I never really know whether it's more efficient to have it fuller, but then there's more to heat up, or whether it's better with 1 layer and a big space. I can never work out whether that is quicker. But at the end of the day, you just got to take the time it takes. Like when you're looking out to sea and you're trying to see something and squinting away at it. Hey, there's a bubble. I get start the clock. You didn't arrive at a very exciting time, Rosalind. I will say we published the canner rental scheme this week, sent out a newsletter, and there's very good response to it. It seems to be a popular idea. So we're steaming ahead with that and getting all the canners that we can to take it forward, and aiming with starting it at the beginning of May. So if you know anyone that wants to kind of have a go but isn't sure and all that kind of thing, there'll be other newsletters, and make sure you sign up for the newsletter on the website, because you never know when we're going to be sending you something. We don't send out regular things to try and get you to buy things and all that business. We only ever tell you news that we think is worth knowing. So signing up for a newsletter isn't a big nuisance in terms of receiving emails, but it is the most efficient way for us to tell you stuff. So getting that all ordered, all the canners in, ready. It's quite a lot to think about to do, so we want to get it right. We don't want to keep on having to rejig it because we haven't thought of something. So but it will be just this kind of canner, either a standard unit or an induction unit. We can't include the the all American or the digital canner or anything in it, because they're just too expensive to send out on that basis. So good. I think one of my ladies from my Wednesday night workshops is going to use the rental scheme to try out a canner, because she just doesn't believe that the food can taste even nice, let alone delicious. So she said it's a good way for her to sort of allay her fears of what it will taste like, which is true. It is a good idea to do that. And so what's tomorrow's going to be? That's 2. So that's 3 actually. If you change, it's not going. That's not. I don't know what the time is, because my watch isn't going either. So 3:45. So that's 15. It's going to be about 4:45 and then come back. 4:45, 25.
Meditation's very trendy at the moment. We could sell this.
Yeah, but we could.
Watching this thing meditative, couldn't we?
We could have some. I will devise something to fill this 10-minute gap. The thing is, I want to sort of show you some things, but I don't want to be halfway through and then we break. So I need some other bits and pieces ready to go through in that 10 minutes. I'll think on yeah, the pressure canning zen.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Down to the last minute, and then I can put my weight on. You're already timing in your.
I'm just waiting for it to come up to pressure. We time it from when it's hit pressure, don't
Yeah.
we? Yeah, it's not quite there yet. I'm just keeping. I'm going to do an hour and 30, aren't I?
Yeah. I think what will happen as we go further on, as I said, I've not done this before, and I don't think anyone else has live, certainly not in this country. And the ones I've seen in America, they break in between every process. You kind of you examine the process, then the film stops and they come back when they've done it. This is just sort of all the way through, which I think is important for people to see who are learning that this is what happens, this is how long it takes. And I'll just put this on. But I think as we go on through the season, there's going to be other things I can say, well, I got these this week, or I had them in the garden or whatever, and this is what I've done with them. I won't necessarily be doing it as part of the workshops, but I can at least show you other things that you could be doing, because you'll all be a lot more experienced and be able to work through that, quite easily if I give you timings and so on. So but at the moment I feel we've got to go forward, not muddle each other up too much. It's I'm learning what you need and you're learning the pressure canning. So it is what it is.
Tell you what was invaluable for me, knowing exactly how much water to add, understanding all this about pressures in different areas and having the confidence, because when you read the books, that is all so confusing.
Yeah.
And I get it, it's in my head now, how long I do the small ones for, how long I do the big ones for, how much water I put in my canner, and they were all the pressures for me when I started.
Yeah, and it's also it instills fear in you, I think, when you don't really understand something and it's not really explained very well. But I think it's been important to work through it, and for you to ask me questions if I've missed something out or there's something you're not sure of. I can't possibly know all that ahead to cover it all. I try and I don't just sort of think, oh, that recipe will do, and kind of just print it out. I sit down and I kind of work through the workshop in my head, what will happen, how long it will take, what ingredients we'll need, what pans or utensils we'll need. It takes a long time to sort of visualize all that and get it accurate, and also what goes with what, because it's I think that's also confusing, and all the books are American and a lot of the ingredients we don't recognize. So it's I can understand people feeling uncertain, but we're getting there. And oh, my locks spitting out water everywhere. But these dishes I'm showing you, the basic mixes and everything, are the kind of key players, I think, on the shelf of what will be most useful going forward and most adaptable, and whatever setting you're in, whether it's just supper for two on a weeknight or whether you need a big dish of something for supper for friends that have dropped round or are staying, then you know it's all there ready to go. You've put the work in and you can just relax with them, really. You don't have to be cooking from scratch in the kitchen and being out of it. Hold on. It's on fishing. Good. Lock is up, so we should get up to pressure. Next. Okay. Well, I think if we regroup about just after 5 again, about 5:10, something like that, that should be about time for us to switch off, and we can go through the other ideas I've got for you while we wait for them to. Well, you might be switched off because you're slightly ahead of me, aren't you? So we'll see, and I'll see you later. Good. Well, I've got a few minutes to go on my canner before I can switch off. I'm going to go back to the mix I made at the beginning, or rather the end of when I was making the mix that we jarred up. And I want to now go back to the scenario that you've come in from work, or the kids are in from school, or going out for swimming or something, and you want something quick for your dinner. Imagine this is the contents of one of our jars that we're processing at the moment. It's half a kilo, 500 grams of mince. It's some chopped bacon, onion, garlic, and I've got a bit of Italian sausage in there, but that's crept in, that's not in the recipe. And a few herbs and things like that. So I cooked it off. Now, if I'd opened a jar from a bin pressure can, it would be absolutely ready to go. And this is what I'm demonstrating. The fact is, this needs to be cooked some more before we eat it, but this is Trevor my supper, so you don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to show you a few ideas that you can quickly put together. Obviously, your jar, if you've made the mix with the passata in and the mushrooms and all the rest of it, you can use it straight out of the jar as a bolognese on pasta of any kind, spaghetti, whatever. A bit more long-winded is a lasagna. You can use it in layers. I batch make bechamel sauce, and I freeze it in Ziploc bags, flattened out, so they stack up in the freezer drawers. And then I've got a square dish that I use for my lasagna. So I just do layers of meat, layers of the cooked lasagna sheets, and then a packet of the bechamel sauce on the top, as is, and keep going and building it up like that. You can put the bechamel sauce on frozen and build up your layers and then put it in the oven. You can make a pasta bake with this mix. You can mix the pasta in, especially I can't remember the names of them, but the curly pasta and that sort of thing. Top it with cheese. You can add in other ingredients to it, a tin of tomatoes as well as the passata. You can put in peppers, that kind of thing, and bake it in the oven with some cheese and breadcrumbs on the top. Good to go. Good filler for teenagers and hungry kids going from school out to do some other activity. I went through earlier the lunches, doing small amounts in jars for lunches to take to work with the instant noodles that we buy. And I'm just going to make a couple of things now that A, are supper, and B, something. I mean, you can make this mix into a cottage pie or shepherd's pie, whichever you as a family call it. I've got a little dish here. Doesn't look very big, but this dish is perfect for two for a supper. Deep, and you can put the topping on. Now, if I've just come in from work, I don't necessarily want to start peeling potatoes and mashing them, and it's another, you know, pan and everything else. So I can open a jar of my mix, which I'll put some of this in to show you. Now this is quite dry because it hasn't got any passata on it. So if it was the jar out of the can, it would have passata, but it hasn't. So I'm going to put a jar of passata in. Can get this open. There we go. I was going to pour that over the top. It's probably slightly too much, but it will be absorbed and go in. If I've got anything, use a spoon. Get the rest of it out. And we'll now be having this for lunch or supper tomorrow, probably. So move that around and it will go down into the meat. If I've got more mushrooms around, sometimes I will put a layer of sliced mushrooms on the top. And then I've got a jacket potato here, which I've microwaved. It's got the skin on still. If you don't want the skin on it, just take it off once it's cooked. So you've come in from work, you've opened your jar, you microwave your potato and slice it as thinly as you can. And obviously this will scale up to as many people as you need to feed. You can have a bigger dish, a bigger jar, more potatoes. Doesn't matter if it breaks up or doesn't slice very well, because it's all going to be crispy, crunchy on the top. So then you just start laying it over the surface of the meat. So no pan to wash up with mashed potato. Use up all the bits, just put them in. It may not look that pretty, but it will cook golden and look quite splendid. Just put everything on. Then I've got some grated cheese here. Put that on the top. Pop it in the oven or whatever you cook in. To cook, make, you know, crisp up the potatoes, melt the cheese. Oh, there's my timer. Switch off the canner. And that makes a very nice supper. You can have some other vegetables with it, whatever you like. You know, they can be canned vegetables like runner beans, or you know, things like broccoli or carrots or something like that. And you very quickly assembled a very substantial dinner for two. Okay. By the way, with cheese, never ever dispose of any cheese in any way. If you think it's too dry to eat, just grate it down to the rind and have a bag in the freezer that you put all the gratings into. Doesn't matter if they're all different, just mix them all up and then you've got them there ready to go when you need it. You don't have to grate them each time you need some. And they're great for sauce or for topping on things. And equally, if you want to, you know, use Parmesan on a pasta dishes and so on, or any dish, I mean, Parmesan would be great on this dish. Buy the biggest lump you can and keep it in a Ziploc bag in the fridge. It's much, much cheaper to get a big piece and keep it than it is to keep buying those sort of wedges at about, you know, £3, £4, £5 a time, depending what you buy. Much less wastage, you know, just keep, and you can just keep grating it and using it on things. It's very easy to do. If you have a dehydrator, consider dehydrating some mashed potato. Make up a great big pot of it, plain. Don't add any milk or butter or anything. Just cook the potatoes and mash them. And then if you've got a dehydrator with shelves, just spread it on parchment paper in the dehydrator and dry it, and then powder it when it's dry, and store it in a jar. You can put that into a jug and pour on boiling water, add some milk and salt and pepper, and it will just make up beautifully as fresh mashed potato. It is not like the little Aliens version. It doesn't taste like that at all. It just tastes as though you just made it, and it's a great time saver, and you can just make up how much you need. So very good. Saves all. You've only got one pan to wash up, then, you know, making mashed potato 2 or 3 times a week or something. Now, I just wanted to say about these jumbo oats. If you're cooking mince, and I used this when I was on a really tight budget. I say budget, I just didn't have any money when I had the children really young. And it is brilliant if you're cooking mince. Buy the best meat that you can afford, but you know, you can buy sort of slightly less. Add a tin of tomatoes or something, or passata or whatever, and add a cupful or so. And I mean just a cup, not an American cup, but just a teacupful of oats to it, and mix it all in. If you're making a cottage pie and you're making gravy or thickening it in some way, you won't need to add any thickener to it. You can just use the oats. They look and taste like mince. Nobody will know they're in there, and resist the temptation to tell everyone. Just put them in and make it stretch further. If you've got to make a big cottage pie for teenagers or anything, you know, if you're making any mince mix, you can add proportionately, you know, to say that kind of quantity, which was 500 grams, up to a kilo. You can use a teacupful of oats, no problem, and nobody will know it's in there. And it's a very cheap extender and nothing to be shying away from. Right, back to our supper. I've got some meat left in here, so I'm going to just turn on the heat and reheat it a bit. Now, I'm going to make us chilli for tonight's supper. So I've got some of my meat. I'm going to put in at least 1 tin of red kidney beans. This is from the first workshop when we did beans, and I told you how useful they would be. And here they are. So I'm going to put in one tin to start, one jar to start with. Get to see what that looks like. Oh, I'm going to put the whole thing in, juice and all. Another great extender. Now these are just plain beans. I know that you can buy tins of chili beans that have chili in them already, and you could make beans with chili in them. We didn't, we just made plain for the reasons I gave at the time, but I think that could take a second jar. They're tasty in their own right, but they are good at extending meat in with you know, adding the protein. Oh, again, lots of people to feed. Just be imaginative. You could put a tin of tomatoes in, or a jar of tomatoes if you've got them done. As I say, I didn't do any last year. I made it all into passata. So that's my beans, my meat. I now need some chili, and we grew some chilies last year. We're not mad on chili, but I always grow some, and there were some nice ones left. So the last 2 or 3 lots of passata I made, I added chili into it, and it's labelled up chili passata. And I'm going to add that for the chili flavour and more sort of moisture. I don't know how hot it is, because I didn't taste it at the time. Pleasant, I would say, not overly fiery. So I'll put that in. So here I am, I've come in from work, I've opened my mince. I've added 2 jars of beans and 1 of chili passata. I'm going to resist the urge to put more chili in, because I think as you're eating it, the more you eat, the hotter it gets sometimes. And so, and there we are. By the time that's heated up, the rice will be on, and by the time that's cooked, it will all be ready together. Oh, I don't know if we can get the camera. And that's what it looks like there. Chili to go. So obviously you can have the mince mix on jacket potatoes with the cheese on the top. The lasagna I've talked about. The other thing that is good to have in your store cupboard or freezer are these, which are the tortilla wraps, the soft flour ones. Now I bought these fresh today. There's 8 in here. I can never get these things open. Says it's resealable. I can't even open it. Let's reseal it. I'm probably attacking it from the wrong side or something. But anyway, again, if you've got lots of hungry mouths to feed, they're great, because you can take them, stuff them with the mince. You can add extra vegetables in, peppers, chili, whatever you want, and roll them up. And then you can lay them in a dish, make a cheese sauce, pour over the top, bake in the oven, and then everybody's got a decent helping. I usually keep the backpack ones just in the larder on the shelf, and then you can, once you've opened them, you can take out what you need, and then you can pop the rest in Ziploc bags and file them in your freezer. I should do that with these. I should put 2 in a bag at a time and pop them in the freezer. But they are very, very useful. You can get the taco shells as well, which you can make like I put on the picture on the recipe, make up a taco mix with chilies and peppers and things, all the same kind of thing. But an idea I saw, I think it was on Pinterest, is to, if you've got some oven-proof dishes, this is an enamel one, but they can be ceramic, you can make like a pizza, a cross between a quiche and a pizza. Just pop the base in, no pastry to make, your mince, some sliced peppers, mushrooms, whatever, cheese on the top, bake it in the oven, and then everybody gets an individual one each. Or you can make it not with the mincemeat mix, but put just a vegetarian mix, like I don't know, well, no, not necessarily vegetarian. You could put chopped ham, you could put mushrooms and all that kind of thing, and beat some eggs and pour over the top and bake it like a quiche. You could put mozzarella on the mincemeat one, all kinds of things. But if you've got these in either the pantry or the freezer, they're a very good quick, without having to make pastry and roll it out or any other kind of base. And the edges sort of crisp up when it's baked, and then you can just eat one each. Or if you've got hungry teenagers, they'll probably have 2 each. But it's quite nice building up the layers of the things that you like you would a pizza, without the faff of making the pizza base. I think that's just about all of the different things I suggested, but you'll have your own ideas, and I'm just looking at the speedy things that you can use your jars for once you've made them, and save yourself a lot of time. But they can all be literally beefed up to be a supper dish for friends. It doesn't all have to be about sort of everyday stuff for the family. If you wanted to make sort of more impressive things, especially using these, which I think are a very good time saver. I don't think I'm not depressurized yet. So if you've got, you haven't any questions, you okay, Jane?
Yeah, no problem. Mine's still on about 5. It's coming down quite slowly.
Yeah. Well, I think we're probably okay to call it a day, because we're both at the same stage.
Yeah, no problem.
We don't need to sort of watch each other watching a canner, do we?
No.
I hope there's some ideas there that you can use, and I just find it quite exciting looking at all the stuff I have on the shelves and thinking, oh, I could do this or I could do that, and you'll have your own versions of things. But it's not just sort of plain, whatever. There's some quite exciting possibilities, I think. So I hope you give some of them a go.
Yeah,
I'll see you in a couple of weeks, or maybe not if you're having your kitchen.
I think it might be the one that I'm not available for.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll watch it. In the week afterwards.
I'll be here in a couple of weeks, and we'll be doing a tasty beef with vegetables, and there'll be some different ideas for that as well. That's sort of bigger pieces of meat and so on. So I'll see you when I see you, and with your kitchen. And
I think I'll probably do another one before then. Will we be doing one on the 29th?
Yes.
2 weeks after. I should be around for that one. So I'll see you then.
I don't know, and actually I don't know what day. It will be 2 weeks after this one, so It'll be the, I didn't look at the date, it'll be the
15th of April I won't be at, but 2 weeks after that is the 29th of April.
I think that's the one, because there's 3 in this month. I don't think there is one. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the 15th of April and then the 6th of May.
Ah, okay. I
So-
might just be all right for the 6th of May. I'll be on a skeleton kitchen because I'll be emptying it ready for the builders, but I'll try and do that one.
Yeah. Okay.
If not, I'll definitely watch it on video.
Yeah. Okay then. Good luck with it all.
Excellent. Take care.
See you soon. Bye.